All right, welcome to the Packers Weekly Podcast as part of the PackersTalk.com network. I am your host, Miles Teddick, and joined by your co host, Tim Hamilton. Sorry about that. I just stubbed my toe as we entered there, and that really did not feel good. Uh, Welcome to this victory Monday here over the Vikings. We are pumped to get to talk a little bit about this victory over the Vikings and also get to preview this matchup with the Bears, playoff implications. Very, very exciting. Doesn't get much better than this, man. When you're talking about Packers football, it does not get much better than this. So, very excited. Hope you guys will join us on the live stream tonight. Check in, comment in. We're gonna have some fun times here tonight talking about the Vikings. But let's jump out here, Tim. Man, how you feeling about that win, sir?
That was a good one. That was a special one. It's always good to beat the Vikings. It's awesome when they win in that stadium. And it's even better when it's an important game for both teams. And I know the Vikings can still technically get in the playoffs, but it's going to take a lot for them to get in, and they're not
Yeah.
going to get in. So it's super sweet to beat them, to hear the Go Pack Go chants up in that
Oh man.
building. All the crap that they come out with before the game with their stupid chant and Kirk Cousins taking his shirt off and all that. Like, they're just such a fake
My comment
franchise.
about that was with Kirk. That was either going to be really good for the Vikings or really bad. So I guess we found out what that was.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like what you would expect with Kirk Cousins. Like, he's just what a dork. Um, but yeah, I mean, that from beginning to end, they just kicked their ass. And
Yeah.
it was a game I was nervous about, honestly, going into it. I mean, we talked about it last week. Like, it should be a win, but with the way the defense was playing, like, we were expecting Jaron Hall to look like Joe Montana.
Yeah.
And
Pretty much.
we were expecting a tough Vikings defense because that's what it's been for most of the year. So I was definitely nervous. Though as the week went on, I was feeling better and better about it. And then they just went in there and from beginning to end kicked their ass. And it
They
was
did.
awesome. And it
They
was
controlled that
really,
whole game.
yeah, it was really never in doubt. There was a couple spot times where the Vikings were kind of in the game or threatening to get back into the game, but the Packers shut the door on them time and time again and just controlled them. And I mean, both sides of the ball, everything other than special teams went well. And
Right.
if it wasn't for special teams, they wouldn't have allowed a touchdown in the game.
Yeah. No kidding. I
So I
mean,
mean,
what a performance.
yeah, and I mean, offensively, I think, and we mentioned this last week, I think it was to their benefit that they had already seen the Vikings defense once, so they knew how to prepare, they knew what to expect. And LaFleur and Jordan Love had all the answers for the blitzes, for the exotic looks that Brian Flores gave. They completely solved that defense. I mean, it
Oh
was
yeah.
Jordan Love, and this isn't the first time. It's really been since the Steelers game that he just looks completely comfortable and in command. And I mean, other than the Giants game was kind of like the one bad game he's had since then. But even then, he brought him down the field and gave him a late lead that the defense couldn't hold. But he just looks completely comfortable and in control of everything. And it just what he was doing pre-snap and then after, like it just it felt like whenever he got the ball and he was throwing, I had no concerns. And that's how I felt for a long time with Aaron Rodgers. Like you knew whatever was coming out of his hand, even if it wasn't a completion, it was going to be incomplete. He wasn't turning the ball over. You weren't worried. And he was just complete. It was just, he controlled the game. And LaFleur with his play calling definitely helped them out. I mean, and again, it's been that way really since the Pittsburgh game or since Thanksgiving game against the Lions with LaFleur doing a great job. But yeah, just such a good performance offensively. And you see the difference that Aaron Jones has made back to back weeks, 100 yards plus. How good this offense can be when he's in there. And they don't even have all their weapons still.
Right.
I mean, no Wicks this week. And then Jade Reed, who's having an outstanding game, he gets hurt. So we didn't have him in the second half. And Bo Melton.
Yeah,
Bo
Bo
Melton's
Melton, man.
like,
First 100-yard receiver. What?
right. And
Where
it's
did.
Bo Melton.
Yeah.
He's been great 2 weeks in a row. Like,
I love it.
Bo
I
knows
absolutely
big
love it.
plays. Bo knows touchdowns. Bo knows first downs. Like, he's the go-to guy now. I mean, it's unbelievable that they can just bring him up off the practice squad and the impact he's had. it's been incredible. But Aaron Jones makes the difference for the offense, and
He does.
he completely gives them a different element. And they're not even really getting them the ball in the passing game, which is still something that we may see. It might be game plan specific, but just in the running game, like to unlock that they haven't had all year, back to back 100-yard games. It's the difference. And if they could ever get everybody back and healthy, which might not be until 2024. But I mean, you see the potential of this offense even without having all their weapons and having a quarterback who's just in complete control right now, confident, and knows what he's doing before the ball's even snapped. It was really cool to watch that last night, and it's extra special that it's against the Vikings.
No doubt, man. And what a way to celebrate New Year's Eve, right?
Yeah,
Just
New
hang
Year's
out, have
Eve.
some drinks, and celebrate the
Yeah,
end of the year with a beautiful victory over the Vikings.
yeah,
Yeah, man. I mean, the thing that jumped out to me is Aaron Jones, and the more he's running these last few weeks, and you watch him, and then you watch on the next drive AJ Dillon. Aaron Jones' vision is the difference, man. He sees things AJ Dillon does not see. And
yeah.
he believes he can fit in places that AJ Dillon does not believe he can fit. And that's where it's really fun to watch because he's getting those 8 to 10 yard gashes, man. And he looks like a bolt of lightning, just like in a flash. He's up the field, but he's so smooth in how he identifies that lane and anticipates his blocks that it just happens in a flash. And I still won't say impossible. It's very tough for those defenses to stop that. And then it sets up everything else. The play action is there. There's a lot of things that open up for that, and you can see Jordan Love is very comfortable now taking advantage of that kind of stuff. And that I'll admit I didn't expect to see that kind of stuff from Jordan Love this season, and I was optimistic about Jordan Love, man. I mean, I won't say as optimistic as anyone, but I certainly wasn't naysaying. I really thought he's been the guy the whole time. But I think we're really seeing some veteran savvy stuff from him right now. I mean that throw to Jaden Reed, that touchdown pass on a rope, it's just like I just want to watch it on repeat over. It's beautiful.
I was doing that today.
It's beautiful.
His feet aren't even on the ground.
Just the command of the football,
Yeah.
the rope, just a thing of beauty, absolute thing of beauty that we're getting to see that in year one from this guy. I'm pumped. I really, we were nervous last week, right? We weren't confident that they could go in there and handle business against the Vikings. We thought they should, but certainly not confident they would. Now, having seen that, I'm sitting here going, well, all right, here we go. The episode, or the name of the episode a few episodes ago was A Tale of Two Teams, right? We got one team that looks lost and just they're wandering around like chickens with their head cut off, and then there's another team that looks like they're ready to go play in the playoffs. Now, I'm not talking Super Bowl, not talking deep run, but they might win a wild card game, and who knows what happens from there. But this is certainly unexpected territory for this team. I think, at the beginning of the season, we were all just content with figuring out that Jordan Love is the guy. All right, cool. Let's have that 2008 type season, right? All right, maybe you go 6-10, 6-11, whatever it may be, but you learn that he's the guy. Here's the things that need to be fixed. Let's go do that over the next couple of years and make a run at a Super Bowl in a year or two. I mean, right now, depending on how the offseason goes, they seem like the window's opening again. It's like you would think the window would be closed now for a few years, and now it seems like the window is just as open as ever next year. And who knows what could happen this year. But who you got as your MVPs on this one, Tim?
I mean, Jordan Love is the obvious one. If we want to go beyond that, we've already talked about Aaron Jones. Bo Melton.
Let's go.
It's incredible. Like, he's making plays, and then they lose Jaden Reed, and he's filling in for Jaden Reed just like he did against the Panthers last week. Like, it's a really incredible story. It's a great – I mean, they picked him up late last season off Seattle's practice squad. Basically sat around all this season. He was up in the Thanksgiving game, and then he's been up the last 3 weeks now. Now they finally signed him to the active roster, but it's just, he sat there all year and waiting every week to get his chance, practicing against them, giving the scout team looks to the defense. And now the guy steps in and He,
He's our
it was
first 100-yard
seamless.
receiver in the season, right? I
Yeah,
mean, that
it was seamless what he's done. Like, how do you? It's just incredible to see that he could have that kind of an impact in 2 games without having been on the roster all year. And I don't know how many reps he's getting with Jordan Love in practice. I'm sure the last few weeks it's been a lot more than previous to that. But yeah, I mean, they needed him because of all the injuries at receiver, and he stepped up and made plays.
yeah, he did.
So it's a really cool story, you know, all season on the practice squad, finally getting his chance, and he's making the most of it. And now he's on the roster, and we should see him against the Bears for sure, no matter who's available or not available in the receiving corps.
Yeah.
And I
And
think,
sorry,
go ahead.
what I wanted to add to that, was exciting about that is, and those of us who, are old enough to remember the 2010 run. Now I'm thinking about it, it's like there's a lot of Packer fans not old enough to remember that. But
Yeah,
the real theme around that team was the next man up. They were the team with the
yeah,
most players on IR in the league that year. And so you're seeing that ability reemerge with this team, of this next man up ability. And it's not just in the receiving group, but although that is very much happening there, you're also seeing it in the DBs. And I guess that's a good transition there. You got any
yeah.
defensive MVPs?
I mean, you talked about the DBs, Ballantyne and Valentine. They were really good. I'll say the pass rush, and you can't signal, or you can't just pick one guy from that pass rush because it was a team pass rush. They had 13 different players get a pressure. That's the
Whew.
most for any team all season in the
Hell
NFL.
yeah.
And we're talking about the Packers defense here. And the Vikings offensive line, it's not a bad offensive line. Christian Darrisaw, their left tackle's really good left tackle. Preston Smith beat him bad last night. It was awesome to see. Preston's been kind of like an unsung hero all year. Like
Really
his
has.
sack numbers aren't high, and he kind of got off to a slow start. But I really think as the year has gone on, he's been pretty damn consistent and
Yeah.
a nice running mate for Rashawn Gary. And he makes plays that don't always show up on the stat sheet. And it was cool to see him make an impact last night, especially with the sack fumble that he caused. So just the pressure that they had, and it was consistent with both quarterbacks in there. So you could say, yeah, both quarterbacks for the Vikings stink, and the Vikings. I don't know why they chose Jaron Hall to start, but that's who you chose.
Mm-hmm.
He's not ready to play NFL quarterback, but that's on you for choosing him as your starter. Nick Mullins came in and he stinks too.
Yeah, he wasn't any more ready. I mean,
Not really.
He had a little bit
But
more, a little bit more gumption. But,
yeah, he took more chances with it.
yeah,
But you got to give the pass rush was there and it was consistent all game long, which was awesome to see. And I don't really care who their quarterback is because we've seen Tommy DeVito light us up and we saw Bryce Young light us up. So I don't care. They
matter.
played great defensively. And so, yeah, I mean, if I'm picking anybody on defense, it's the entire pass rush. And even shout out to the blitzing. Like, they got home with blitzes. We saw Keyshawn Nixon get a sack, Quay Walker, Isaiah McDuffie. Like,
Yeah, they took care of business.
They're actually worked their blitzes for the first time, I don't know, since Joe Barry's been here. They worked. Like, couldn't believe it, but it was a consistent pass rush, and that made the difference in the turnovers and the sacks. It was really cool to see. And before we go on to, like, we're kind of skipping over it a little bit, but like Jordan Love was friggin' awesome. We could devote this entire show to Jordan Love, and what he's accomplished, like, since the Pittsburgh game, because I think that's kind of like when he really started to take off, was that Pittsburgh game. I mean, the dude was incredible last night. I don't want to like skip over him too much, but there's a lot of people we can talk about, and yeah,
that's exciting. That's a great thing.
That's the best part of the
Packer
season.
Fans, we
Is
got to
what
be
Jordan
pumped
Love's
about
done.
that. You got to be pumped about that. And I think it's kind of funny, Tim. We're gonna have a Jordan Love episode because we really have kind of downplayed him. We have, we've talked a little bit about him, a little bit more when they were in that lull. What's going on? Why are these things happening? But we really have kind of downplayed Jordan Love in this whole situation, which is hilarious because again, at the beginning of the season, the season was about figuring out if he's the guy, and now almost everything else has gone wrong except him. So
He's raising the team, like, with all these injuries on the offensive side of the ball. He's raising the team, and that, like, I almost think that's almost forgotten about, is how much he's had to deal with receivers and tight ends and running backs being hurt. and he's just playing outstanding and lifting them and carrying them offensively.
Absolutely.
And it's like he's a first-year starter doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, let's
Like,
remember that, and again, I think most Packers fans are doing this, at least sort of what I'm getting from the Twitter crowd out there. We're all kind of, tempering our optimism a little bit, like, all right, yeah, he's doing good. He's all right, he's the guy now. All right, we probably want to start talking about a contract. Guys, he's in MVP territory right now. He's not the winner.
yeah,
I think it's
no,
clear, like right
Lamar
now,
Jackson's getting it.
Lamar Jackson's the guy. But the numbers he's putting up are not far off, right? We're not far off from
You can
MVP
look,
territory in year one here.
and like I think he's played excellent, especially over the second half of the season. And even I kind of like, okay, yeah, he's played really good. But then when you actually see the stats, and especially the advanced stats beyond like touchdowns and interceptions, which are really good anyway, like the advanced stats, he's up there with,
Pretty good.
yeah, he's up there with Brock Purdy and Dak like the guys that have been talked about as in the MVP consideration all year. And it's like,
Yeah,
wow. So you really dig into it, or you just open your eyes and watch. Like he's pretty damn good.
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
not just one or two games. It's now consistently he's doing this.
This is true.
And like when we started doing this podcast back in August, if you would have said like, hey, it's now January and Jordan Love has these statistics and he's carrying the team offensively with all the injuries around him. I mean, we would have went out of our minds back then.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh my God, like we have our guy.
If you would have given us the script, the NFL script, because it's scripted, right? So if you give us the
Right.
NFL script at the beginning of the season, and this is what we read about Jordan Love, huh? Woof! You kidding me? We wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe it. You'd be like, oh, the NFL script is fake, of course. But props to Jordan Love. He is my offensive MVP. Plenty of credit to go around, but
Yeah.
definitely props to Jordan Love. And on the defensive side, it's really hard to argue with Preston Smith. I think just the man, he's just smooth. He's cool. He's steady. Like he is kind of the rock of that defense as far as what I see right now. And that's where he may not jump off the page with his stats, but if you pull him out of that group, I guarantee you things go into disarray. And when you got him, going off and covering top receivers and holding his own for the most part sometimes, and then actually making real plays, as a pass rusher the way he's supposed to. He's done everything he's asked to do it. He's been nothing but an upstanding character the entire time from what we can see. So yeah, he'd be my defensive MVP. But all of this, of course, it was a good defensive performance. So let's bring up the topic that we really need to get into here, right? Because we know the answer to this. I think all of us generally know. But of course, Twitter's got to do what Twitter's got to do, or X. And they got to start asking, well, should Joe Barry go? Has he figured it out now? Did Joe Barry figure it out now against the Vikings? Should he go after that? It was a pretty good performance. So before I answer, Tim, what do you think about that?
It doesn't change anything. He should still go.
Okay.
And I did like Matt LaFleur's comment after the game. Like he gave Barry props, but then he also said it's only one game.
There you go. Exactly.
And I was like, okay.
Thank you.
That's what I kind of wanted to hear. Like, we need to give him props because whoever the quarterback is, it doesn't matter because they're lighting up our defense. So they didn't do that last night. And I actually thought his game plan was pretty good. He was playing man to man. I mean, Carrington Valentine was following Justin Jefferson a lot.
Yeah.
And he
Valentine had a
blitzed.
great game.
Valentine had a great game. As soon as Valentine showed up pregame with the Charles Woodson jersey or Charles Woodson t-shirt on, man, that was like,
awesome.
all right, something good's happening for the DBs tonight. But Barry's plan was really good, and the blitzes worked. Like I couldn't believe blitzes got home for sacks. Like who is this? So he deserves credit for what happened last night, and I don't think we can take away because Jaron Hall and Nick Mullins are playing quarterback because we saw what Tommy DeVito and Bryce Young and Kenny Pickett and Jimmy Garoppolo have done against them.
Yeah.
So,
well, to be fair, he has stopped legitimate quarterbacks. Pat Mahomes didn't do good, and granted, they're struggling in their own right now.
Right,
so that's probably more what's going on there. But yeah, I mean, That's really part of the problem with Joe Barry is you've seen flashes of ability and some
Yeah,
brilliant defensive games, and then you see just complete embarrassments. You're like, well, I mean,
yeah.
you can't have that.
He deserves credit, but that doesn't change anything. He should still
Yeah,
go. And to me, LaFleur saying it's just one game, it was like, oh, good. Okay. He's not convinced. And I don't want
yeah,
him to be convinced because I think no matter what happens with this team at the end of the year, he's got to make a change. And him saying, like, it's just one game, maybe that's nothing. Maybe it's a throwaway line, but I kind of got something out of that. And maybe I'm stupid for thinking that. But I think he kind of is at that point, like, he's probably going to make the change. You know, I just don't want him to like have a change of heart or a change of mind, based on anything they do against the Bears or possibly beyond the Bears.
yeah.
Um, so no, to answer your question, it doesn't change anything. He still should go, and really nothing that their defense could do the rest of the season would change my mind that they need to make the change at coordinator.
I think,
So
and so and we'll figure this out probably pretty quick. But here's what I think actually went down with Jair Alexander. The guy got suspended against or for the game. One, there's playoff implications, but two, it's a chance to go up against Justin Jefferson. The real competitor wants that opportunity. So you can't tell me that Jair gets suspended and then just walks out of that. Oh, we lost Tim. I'll keep talking. You can't tell me you kind of popped out of there for a second, Tim.
okay, I'm here.
All good. Can't tell me though that he walks out of that meeting with getting suspended and is just happy about it and it's fine. No, all's cool and well. But in Lafleur's press conference after that, and in response to that, he said that he's 100% confident that his relationship with Jair is better for having gone through the situation. Now,
Mhm.
to me, that's like, okay, well, then there's a missing piece of the puzzle that we're not getting right now. Because again, you're not the guy that you just, hey, come on in, Jair. Guess what? We're going to suspend you for a game for something that you did that you thought was worth doing. Oh, okay, appreciate it, guys. Have a great day. Like that's just not how that meeting goes. And I think that they got a little bit. I think they leveled with each other, right? And let's not forget, he just got signed to an extension, so they are committed to this guy. This isn't just some new draft pick that they're trying to decide whether to commit to him or not. They are married to Jair Alexander right now. So I think what they did is they said they call it him and say, hey, look, man, you can't be acting like this. And he goes, look, guys, there's a problem with leadership. And they go, we get it. We're going to take care of it. Trust us to take care of it. We got to do something about this. You can't act that way, so we're going to suspend you for a game. We good? We're good. Okay, so it's like there's a problem. You acknowledge that there's a problem. You agree that there's going to be a solution to the problem. You move on. And Jair has been silent since that happened. And again, LaFleur's confidence that their relationship is better off for having gone through that. Only way that that's the outcome, right? Again, you're not just suspending a guy and now your relationship's better. So that's where I think all of this is already settled. I think it's already determined. One game does not make a difference. And if anything, I think maybe LaFleur is trying to do the best he can to sort of hint to other teams that this guy is going to be worth employing once he gets rid of him. But I just don't think that there's I said it before, you could shut out the Bears and the defense could score 5 touchdowns. I don't think the guy keeps his job. That would be awesome if that happened, and I'd give him a round of applause.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. But
Yeah.
no, I think that again, we've seen the body of work over 3 years now. You need the body of work to be better than what it's been. You need the guy to be developing players instead of you're starting to see declines in players that you've seen play at all pro levels. You don't want to see that. Like coaching then is the issue at that point. So you want somebody who's going to come in here who's going to harness Jair's talent, who's going to get these guys kind of back in line, harness Savage's talent for crying out loud, get Kenny Clark back to the all-pro level, use these pass rushers you got effectively. I mean, they've got such a deep stable of pass rushers. And so, yeah, again, I don't think so either. I don't think there's anything Barry can do here to keep his job. Good performance against the Vikings. Thank you for not making a backup look like an MVP. I genuinely and sincerely appreciate that. It's strange that I have to, but I do. And so, no, I don't think Barry is going to keep his job beyond this. But again, thank you for the victory over the Vikings. Awesome way to end the year, 2003. Deuces. We're kicking off 2024 against the Bears. So we get to switch over to talking about that next, but let's get to a couple of little top topics, injury updates, things like that. What are we looking at for Week 18? Speaking of Jair Alexander, we get
Yeah.
him back. He is going to be in there. I
Well,
expect, he's had an extra week of well, is he? Wait a second. What do you know?
I don't know anything. So, but I mean, we expect him back, but he
We
also
expect
had
him back.
he had a shoulder injury. So does he come back ready to play, or does he come back saying my shoulder's hurt
Well,
and I don't know if I can make it through?
And again, so I think that
I don't know.
we just kind of went through that theory of hey, the front office levels with him. Like, look, we get it. Barry's a problem. Deal with it. Let us fix it.
Right.
But if that's the case, you would expect him to sort of return to, all right, I'll do what I'm told this week, and let's go out and play.
Yeah, you would think so, but I don't know that until he shows up in the building, and I don't expect him to speak with the media this week, or if he does, I don't expect him to say anything.
Yeah.
But we'll see how he acts when he's back. And I'll just say, like, I don't think we want to go down all the Jair stuff because that was last week, and I think everybody got right on Twitter and overreacted, and as
Well,
we
it
all
just
do. And I was
it sort
part
of
of it,
like worked in there with the Barry
right?
line. It really wasn't meant to
Well,
be more of a
no.
Jair
I
thing.
got you. I'm not saying you, but I just, Twitter
You're
last
right
week
though.
was all Joe Barry's fault. Like the weather here was bad today. Like that's Joe Barry's fault. I should blame it on Joe Barry. And I also heard last week how Matt LaFleur had lost the locker room. I mean, if he lost the locker room and that was the performance against Minnesota, like I hope he loses it even more this week. Like, are you
Well,
kidding me?
but
He
I think
lost the
that's a
locker room.
projection again from that suspension, right? Again, like so we're all sort
Yeah,
of
but
reading into this a little bit and certainly making our own
yeah,
opinions on all this stuff. But that's the idea that hey, you've got a leader in your locker room who's upset. And there's another one who's upset too. We've already seen that.
right.
So, he went off and did something cheeky. It wasn't harmful at the end of the day, but you suspend him for it. And it seems,
Well,
again, like there's accountability only happening one way. But this is where I bring it all back to
no.
saying, I think they leveled with him to say there will be a solution to this problem, but we have to have accountability here. It's short term accountability versus long term accountability. And so it's two different things. I had opinions about it for sure. All of Packers Twitter had opinions about
Oh
it,
yeah.
but yeah, I think bottom line is that they've already decided that Joe Barry is gonna have to go. There has to be a solution to that problem, and then they're just gonna do it in the way they're gonna do it. They've already decided they're not gonna do it in the middle of the season. We just live with that, right? Like they've made that decision. There's no like, well, maybe they'll change their mind this week. I don't. We're past that. So I think that's what they told Jair, and that's where I think you don't lose the locker room because then he can sort of settle things and be like, no, I'm good. It's all good. Everything's fine. And he can go back in the locker room and be a composed presence. Those are things we're all just guessing at. We don't know. But yeah, that team that played against the Vikings certainly didn't look like a lost locker room to me. That
No,
looked
he
like a
hasn't lost
locker
all.
room that is, and we talked about this
Yeah.
before, doesn't quit on Matt LaFleur. Even
No.
when they were playing like dog crap in the earlier parts of the season, that they did not quit on LaFleur, and they have yet to do that. So
No, if they were going to, it would have been when they were 2-5, or
yeah,
after the Bucks game, or even after the stuff with Jair. And
we're
I'll
after
just
trading
say,
Rasul Douglas.
or after trading Rasul, which is still not a good trade, but that's a different topic.
Right.
And I'll just say about Jair, like Matt LaFleur doesn't say a whole lot when he talks, and that's by design, and that's fine because none of
Sure.
the head coaches do. But when he says certain things, like it's like, okay, that's a little different. So he was asked, like, was Jair just suspended for the coin toss? And he said it's not just one thing.
Right.
And I think that goes back to, and this is something we had talked about, but everybody kind of just like let it be. When Jair didn't travel to the Giants game after he had traveled as an injured player to the Pittsburgh game, the Detroit game, he didn't travel to the Giants game. And they asked LaFleur about it the next day, and he just kind of like, oh yeah, it was, because of his injury, because of his rehab. That was something,
Yeah.
because Christian Watson's traveling every game. Aaron
Yeah.
Jones traveled every game. Dontavian Wicks was there last night. He was the one getting in the fight at the end of the game when they're shaking hands. Like, they're traveling. The only one that's not is Bakhtiari because he's having surgery and he's in California and whatever.
Makes sense.
Right. So he's not around the team. Jair was traveling, and then he didn't travel for the Giants. that was something is this is just my opinion, but something happened, like why he didn't travel at that time. So what happened with the coin toss was probably the last straw. It wasn't what got him suspended. It was just the final thing that led them to suspend him.
Yeah,
So to say he was just suspended for a coin toss and that's stupid and all that, like there's more beneath the surface that we don't know about, and maybe it'll come out eventually. But the Packers do a pretty good job usually about keeping things quiet, especially with a player that they want to keep. And I think they want to keep him and get him straightened out and focused and being more of a team player,
yeah,
because he is, what he did in Carolina, that was selfish. And that has nothing to do with Joe Barry going out there
sure,
for a coin toss and making yourself a captain and almost screwing up the coin toss. Like, that's not about Joe Barry. That's about Jair.
yeah,
And Jair got Jair suspended, not Joe
yeah,
Barry, not Matt LaFleur. So, like, I get there's a bigger problem on the defense, and that's true. We saw what Devondre Campbell had to say, and there's a bigger problem. But, like, Jair's suspension to me was well deserved, and there's more there that led to that. Now, I also believe
yeah.
that they think they can get him dialed back in and that they're committed to making it work with him. So I think the
Well,
Packers are committed. It's just, is Jair committed?
and that's where again, a lot of people want to jump on the player. Like, oh, this guy's acting like a jerk. He's being this. He's being that. Sure, he is. He is, right? But let's ask ourselves why. Why is he acting that way? We've seen, again, I think we talked about this last week a little bit, but we've seen him be one, an all pro player, no doubt, but two, an all pro character. There's multiple times I've tweeted, give this guy a lifetime contract.
Mhm.
He's done upstanding things in the community in Green Bay. He likes Green Bay. He's been a great dude. Even at the beginning of the season, we all got really excited when he jumps on Jordan Love's back and give this is my guy. All
Yeah.
of that, right?
Yep.
That doesn't just spoil on its own. Jair didn't just wake up one day and decide to be a jerk. I really think that there was a boiling point on the defensive side of the ball, um, where who knows what happened, right? Because we've heard it from Devondre Campbell too, right? There was a little bit of that thing with his tweet, and then that went away real fast. But we're seeing these things. It's very easy to think, well, maybe these players are fed up with Joe Barry and what they've been asked to do. They're saying we've done what we've been asked to do, and it's getting us embarrassed. So we're done with this. This is ridiculous. That can happen. These are humans in that locker room, after all. So
Yeah.
that's where I think it might have had something to do with that, right? Maybe Jair is the one who popped off and he did it in an inappropriate way, and so he didn't travel to the Giants game, and that's why they played like crap before, in the Giants game, because there was just a bunch of turmoil. Who knows? We don't get to know these things. We just get to BS about them on our podcast. Um, but I do think that at the root of all of this, you've seen the player be as A plus all around. That doesn't change on its own. So I think if you fix the root of the problem, which is probably a leadership issue somewhere along the lines, you fix the player problem and you get the all pro player back. And that's where it's like, anybody who's saying get rid of Jair, you're out of your mind. It's just ridiculous.
And I think he needs to come in this week ready to go and dialed in and focused. And I don't care what Joe Barry's plan is, execute it and go. This is win
Right.
and go to the playoffs.
Yes.
And if you had a problem, fine. I understand having the problem, but you also had missed 6 or 7 straight games. You weren't even playing.
Right.
And when you were playing, you didn't play that well. And when you came in against Carolina, you played bad. Like, so if you have a problem, look in the mirror too. Like, you got to take accountability. No matter what kind of
Exactly.
coverage he's asking you to play, you're not playing it well, and you haven't been available to play it anyway. So maybe
Yeah.
if you were available, his game plan would be a little different. And if you were available playing well, I guarantee the game plan would be different. Like Joe Barry's, he would be able to take advantage at least a little bit of Jair if Jair's playing at the level that he used to play at. So this week
And
against
he
the
is playing
Bears,
through an injury, right? And there's no doubt
I
about
get
that.
that.
And a
I get
DB with
it.
a shoulder injury that's a really tough one for a DB. There's a
Yes.
lot of shoulder action going there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not defending Jair saying that he's acting totally appropriately. It's just more of like, listen, there's a deeper problem, and if you think getting rid of Jair Alexander just fixes this problem, you're
Mm.
nuts. This guy is one of the best DBs in the league and is going to be for the foreseeable future. Playing through an injury is one thing, that's fine. but like thinking that he's just all of a sudden a bad attitude, bad character, bad locker room guy. I just don't think he woke up one day and decided to be a jerk.
No,
But
it's a
that's neither here nor there.
it's a complicated situation, and we don't know the full story, and like everybody's reacting to just
Right.
like what we know and what we think, and like it goes deeper than that. So we all need to calm down and say and just take a breath and hope that it plays out the way we're expecting it to. And I definitely think like a change in defensive coordinator could make a big difference for everybody on the defense, and
Sure.
especially Jair.
Yeah.
We got to wait for that. But like right now, it's Bears week, and it's a chance to get in. Like
Yes.
you need Jair, and you need him focused and ready to go.
Bears week. I love going against the Bears. Oh man, do I love playing the Bears.
So
Um,
who's going to be available to go against the Bears is a
that is what we
big
need
question.
to get to. So, do we have an injury report to look
LaFleur
at?
didn't talk today, so we just have who was not available last night and who left. So
Right.
a couple things popped up today as we record this on Monday.
All right.
So Jaden Reed's injury, they did tests on him in Minnesota. Nothing was broken, but they were going to do further tests. It's rib injury, so like ribs can be complicated.
Yeah.
And I think that was what he was already playing through, and then missed the Carolina game. The dude's tough. He's been beat up for a while now this season and playing through different things. I know he missed the Carolina game, came back and was a difference maker. I mean, Jaden Reed's a stud.
Yeah.
So they need him. Don't know if he's going to be available. He's definitely up in the air.
Looks here like X-rays are negative, so no broken
Right.
ribs, so that's good. With that kind of stuff, usually
Could be
it's pain tolerance.
cartilage. Right. It could be pain tolerance. And if it is, I would think he can get through it, but you never know. And it could be a medical where the doctors say you're not going. So it might not even be in his hands. Preston Smith left the game but came back, so I think he should be all right. McDuffie left with a concussion. And with a concussion, I mean, I would say count him out until, I mean, it's possible he's back, but most of the time it's at least a week with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the other one that kind of got missed in the game because it was late in the fourth quarter and there weren't that many snaps left. Elton Jenkins got hurt. He got rolled up on his knee, and he was already playing, I believe, with a knee injury. It was maybe it was a shoulder injury he's had, but he got rolled up on.
Okay.
And this was before they started taking guys out of the game and subbing out. They'd actually moved Sean Ryan to left guard. And Elton got checked out on the sideline. There was nothing after the game about it, but I did see tonight Andy Herman actually tweeted like the all 22 of his injury. He definitely got rolled up pretty good on his knee.
Okay.
So let's monitor Elton Jenkins, because that would be a huge loss for this week. And then, does Wicks make? I kind of expect Wicks to make it back. He seemed like he was fairly close. So I think he might make it back. I know Watson worked out. They showed him during the game. Pre-game, he was working out on the field there, and he said he expected to be back. Players always expect to be back.
Yeah.
It's not up to him, really. He hasn't practiced, so I'm still not expecting him back, but maybe they get Wicks. But the guy that I think definitely could be available is Luke Musgrave. He practiced all last week. I actually thought they were going to activate him. Like he was practicing, and it seemed like he was doing a lot in practice. So I was a little bit surprised that they didn't activate him off IR. I would expect Musgrave this week. So to me, I'm expecting Musgrave. I'm expecting probably Wicks. I don't really expect Watson, though that would obviously be an added bonus. And who knows about Jaden Reed? Let's hope for the best there, because obviously he's a big part of it. But
yeah,
it at least seems like they're going to have some players back, but not everyone necessarily. Right. But whatever you get back at this point, obviously, is a bonus. And if you can get Musgrave and you get Wicks, I think that's huge for this offense. As long as Reed is in there as well, but you're getting there. You're getting more guys back for the offense. And we see how good it is without those guys, or with losing guys. Like we lost Wicks against Carolina in the first half. We lose Reed in the first half against the Vikings. And they're still pretty damn good without those guys. So, like, if we're going to start getting them back now, I mean, and just look at Musgrave and the impact he can make. I mean, he was playing great before his injury. Tucker Kraft has taken off. Tucker Kraft has been awesome for them. We're going to see a lot of 12 personnel with Kraft and Musgrave. That's going to be sweet.
I just want to say a special shout out to all the Goot haters out there. This man has rebuilt an offense in record time, and it is going to be a lot of fun to watch over these next few years.
Yes.
I mean, these guys are tough as nails too. I know that sometimes we have criticism for players and they get injuries, and I am not willing to criticize Christian Watson at all because hamstrings are a hell of a thing, and
Yeah.
that's his main weapon is his explosion. So
Yeah.
if he can't use it, not worth putting him out there. But when it comes to these guys that they're bringing in these last few years in the draft and through all the channels that they can, these are some tough sons of guns, man. You got Jaden Reed out there gutting it out and through several injuries, but then Musgrave doing what he did, playing through a lacerated spleen. It was
Kidney. Yeah.
kidney.
Kidney.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, just like, and now he's gonna come back. Whew, dude, this is wow. This gets me all fired up, man. This team is too much fun right now, and they're young. Like we get like 3 years, 4 years of this group right now. Woo! This is fun stuff. This is a fun place to be, and now you have less holes to fill on that offense, if any, right? So, you know what? If you have holes on the defense, keep pitching the assets over there if you have to. But hats off to Goot for the rebuild on the offense. The pieces he's put in place are a lot of fun to watch right now, and I don't think any of us expected this quick. Maybe we expected what we're seeing, but not this quick.
And there's been ups and downs. I mean, all season's been a roller coaster, but they've at least gotten better with consistency throughout the year. It's not quite there, but the growth and the potential, like you can't look at any of these dudes and be like, yeah, he can't play.
Right.
Like who at receiver?
Top to bottom right now.
Right. Samari Toure, take him out of the picture. But I mean, you can even look at a guy like Malik Heath. Like, I don't know. I don't think he's going to be a great receiver. I don't think he'll put up great stats, but he can block his ass off.
Well, and he's going to be one of those you're nervous about having in the game.
No, he's one of those like depth guys that you're going to be like, man, how do we have him as like our fifth receiver? Because he's going to come in there, right? Like Bo Melton, and he'll Bo Melton, Malik Heath. Those will be the guys that'll come in like when there's an injury or somebody needs a breather or whatever, and there's not going to be a drop off where they're going to be in there to play their role. Like Malik Heath is going to be that Alan Lazard kind of, the goon, and he's got the attitude for it, and he'll be like, that's my role. Fine, I'm going to go in there and be the best goon I can be, and that's awesome. Like and just, I mean, to me, I go back like Musgrave. We saw the potential from day one, and it was kind of like slow, and he started getting better, and then he got hurt, which was a shame.
Yeah.
Tucker Kraft up to that point had really not done a whole lot.
Right.
He'd been underwhelming, and then he's just taken off, and it's like, oh my, like here's your opportunity, dude, and he just took it and ran with it. Where in a lot of cases, especially with a rookie, like that guy, he wouldn't have done anything. Like you'd be looking for another guy to replace him. Maybe not long term, but at least right now, you'd be like, man, we don't have anything at tight end.
Right.
Instead, like Kraft is just, he looks like a veteran. He looks like one of those solid, like veteran tight ends that plays 10 years in the league, and he can block some, he can catch the ball. He's going to be physical after the catch. The dude is just, he wants the contact after the catch, and just he gets open.
That style opposite of a Musgrave who can stretch the field like Watson can. The tools they have available to them right now, if they're totally healthy, it's silly. It's really silly.
Those two tight ends complement each other so well.
And the speed that they have on the roster, top to bottom, it's really silly. I mean, because you can threaten vertical with Watson and Musgrave and still have elite speed under that with Reed, borderline elite speed with Dobbs and some of those other guys, but Reed's got elite speed, man, and that is going to give defenses nightmares. They don't know where to start in trying to stop offenses like that.
Yeah.
So that's where it gets fun. But this is we're going to see this stuff in year one. So let's focus in here on what we've got in front of us. One final regular season game against the rival, the best. The rival. I love this rivalry, guys. I'm not calling the Bears the best. The Bears do still, in fact, suck, so don't get anything confused. But I do love this rivalry so much. I hate the Vikings. I don't like the Vikings. I don't enjoy anything except beating the Vikings. But the Bears, there's just like this, it's extra spice to this rivalry. And the
Mhm.
Bears fans on Twitter have talked so much trash over the last offseason, several off seasons. So yes, I just absolutely love it when these teams can clash with something important on the line. And obviously, the Packers have their playoff destiny in their hands. So, what do we expect from this game, man? We have to expect a different Bears team than we saw week 1, right?
Absolutely. Like we've talked all year, and I saw the stats again today about the comparisons to from Love, first year as a starter, Rogers, first year as a starter. They're like dead even.
Yeah.
The comparisons for what the Packers are facing right now to what they faced same time last year. Home
Yeah.
game, winning
Wild.
you're in. Last year against the Lions, a Lions team, I think they started off 1-6 or something like that, and they caught fire and they just barely missed the playoffs. They came in there and handled the Packers. And a lot of similarities. You're 8-8. You're at Lambeau. Winning, you're in. You're playing a team that has nothing to play for their season. You know, they're not going to the playoffs. Bears started off. I mean, they were a dumpster fire early in
Yeah.
the year. They're
Yeah.
firing coaches. They had, internal investigations and all this stuff. They were a dumpster, and
It's
they've really
crazy.
right. They've turned it around, and credit to them. They're playing really good football, especially defensively.
Yeah.
Since they made that change at defensive coordinator and the head coach Eberflus, he's running the defense now. It's been a big difference. They traded for Montez Sweat, and then they paid him, and it was like, yeah, he's a decent player, but I can't believe they're paying him that much money. He's been a difference maker. Like they're playing some really, really good defensive football. A different defense certainly than we saw week 1. I mean, that was a long time ago, and you can't even take anything from that game, I don't think. But it's just such a contrast in what we saw with the Vikings, who are such a blitz team and big, not different personnel, but they blitz or they rush 3 guys all, and they're all over the place. This is just like a sound football team defensively where they all kind of play together, and they have guys, like I said, Sweat, Jalen Johnson at cornerback's really good. Like they've meshed, and
Yeah.
um, they're getting a ton of takeaways, which is making a huge difference. And then offensively, like I think Justin Fields is pretty much the same guy we've seen through 3 years. I think he's gotten a little bit better this year, but not a whole lot. He can make a couple throws a game that are really impressive. And then other than that, if you keep him in the pocket and make him play from the pocket, he shouldn't beat you from the pocket. It's just
Yeah.
those couple throws and when he uses his legs. And when he uses his legs, that's when he's the difference maker. But he's got a legit number 1 receiver and DJ Moore, who's really been a great addition for them this year. They're running the ball well. It's a much different team. I think I'm more scared of them, of their defense than their offense. But the offense scares me just because our defense stinks. It's a tough test, and I think there's a lot of similarities to the situation that they're in. The
Yeah.
Packers are in this year to what they faced last year going into the Lions game. Um, this is not the Bears team we saw week 1. This is not like the pushover Bears team where it was, you saw them on the schedule and it was automatic W.
Right.
This is their Super Bowl.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Oh
this
yeah.
is everything to them, and they're playing legitimately. Like, this isn't like some crummy Bears team that like, oh, we're gonna give it our all. We want to ruin the Packers season. This is a Bears team that's actually playing well going into the game, and it is their Super Bowl, and they're gonna be motivated. So,
Yeah.
I hope the Packers learn their lesson. Those are the guys that were on the team last year. Learned their lesson last year from the Lions loss. Like, don't look at this team's not making the playoffs or what their record is. Like, you need to be ready to go and prepared for a huge challenge.
Yeah.
The Bears are going to give them that. Like, this is legit going to be very tough.
Yeah. I agree, man. And that's why I love it. I love this is the rivalry, man. This is the oldest rivalry in football. This is the OG rivalry of football, and I say that specifically. But yeah, I'm pumped for this matchup. I do think that the
Yeah,
Bears will be tougher. You know, a running quarterback is tough to defend. You've got to be ready
especially
for
for the
that.
Packers.
Yeah, I mean, they have the speed. I will say that, and we saw that. We've seen Quay Walker run stride for stride with Justin Fields last season. Um, you have the speed to defend it, but you whatever Joe Barry did last week that actually got them ready, like, man, I hope he's doing it again this week. Yeah, I really do.
Yeah.
Because you better be ready. DJ Moore is a legit receiver, man. He's gonna be a handful.
Yeah.
You can't sit here and say like, well, at least it's not Justin Jefferson. I mean, he's just as dangerous. It's maybe splitting hairs. Obviously, Justin Jefferson is a better receiver, but I mean, at the top, it's the differences aren't huge. Like he's a great receiver. He's an elite receiver,
Yeah.
and that's gonna be a tough task. So but you saw these guys play well this week against the Vikings. So there's reason to believe they can do it again here. So yeah, I'm definitely. I wouldn't say nervous because I have this already. Like we weren't supposed to make the playoffs this season. If we do, we're playing with house money here. I'm just elated that we know Jordan Love is the guy. So even if they
Right.
miss the playoffs, fine. I'll live with that. My world won't crumble because that wasn't the expectation to begin with. But boy, my expectation is going to be big next season.
The playoffs are a bonus right now, but
yeah,
man, it's right there. And if they don't come through, it's gonna hurt. Like
yeah, it'll hurt,
especially against this team. Like,
but you're still like there's so much optimism after this
absolutely.
season, whether you make the
Yep.
playoffs or not. That's I guess where
Yep.
I'm coming from is a lot
Yeah.
of excitement, a lot of room for optimism.
I just
Um,
no, I was gonna say they need to play loose. Like,
yeah,
don't. Obviously, they know what it means and they know what the moment means, but don't let it get to you. Just play loose. And I thought they kind of played. They were a focused team. The crowd never really got into it in Minnesota because they played so well from the beginning, but they didn't. They weren't gonna like let it affect them. Like,
yeah.
they were ready to go and they brought the attitude, and they need to carry that over to the Bears game and not worry about, hey, we have to win this game or that's it. We're not making the playoffs, and don't feel like all the pressure's on them. Just put business as usual. Like,
Yeah.
come on, play loose.
Well, and they've played
focused.
really well at Lambeau, right? I think that's one of the things that I'm
Mm.
pretty excited about here is they played well at Lambeau this year. They seem a lot more comfortable at Lambeau. So this game being at Lambeau is a big deal. I think if this game is at Soldier Field, basically the inverse, right? You start the season at Lambeau versus starting it at Soldier Field. It's very different, man. They didn't have anything to lose in that week 1 matchup. They could go down there guns a-blazing. They did. I mean, there was nothing to lose in this game. Obviously, there's something to lose, but getting to have it at Lambeau is to me a big difference maker. So I expect them to play like they have this season. At least on offense, they've played well. They've played calm, they've played comfortable, they've played very. It's been noticeably better, I guess is what I would say. So that's what I'm looking for, expecting. I would expect the Packers to show up for this one. I think this one will be competitive. I don't expect the Bears to roll over.
No.
This could be a really exciting installment in the rivalry between the Packers and the Bears. So I'm pumped about this. So what do you think, man? What's it going to take for the Packers to get this win?
Keep Justin Fields in the pocket. And the Packers struggle so much with running quarterbacks. That's going to be hard to do. But if they can keep him in the pocket as much as possible, don't let him beat you with his legs, and don't from rushing, and don't let him get outside where he can scramble around and buy time and find somebody down the field. Like, keep him in the pocket, keep him surrounded, and force those mistakes because he'll throw you some, and he'll miss some easy throws too. He's, like I said, I think he's kind of the same quarterback. Maybe he's improved a little bit this year, and certainly having DJ Moore helps him a lot. But I kind of think he's still the same guy. So keep him within that pocket. Don't let him get loose. Don't let him take off and start running all over the field on you, because that opens up so much. And then you're chasing him all night. You got to contain him. And that starts with the pass rush. Like, you can't have Rashawn Gary flying upfield and break and contain. You can't have the defensive tackles rushing outside too much and opening up the middle where he can take off and just go right through the heart of the defense. Keep him in the pocket. And then I think offensively, it's going to be a struggle to have big plays or to score a lot of points in this game. So I think they just have to be efficient. Just, take the check downs, run the ball. They've been running great the last 2 weeks with Aaron Jones. Even if you're not getting big chunks, if Aaron Jones ain't running for 120 yards, just stay with it. Stay efficient on offense. Make the easy throws and hope that, you can get some big chunk plays off play action, or maybe bringing up the safeties because you're running the ball on them, something like that. But don't expect to go out there and be real explosive against this defense, because they just haven't really allowed that to happen recently. And obviously, turnover battle is going to be huge, and that was a big reason why they lost, last year in Week 18 to the Lions, was a turnover battle.
Yeah.
So, and special teams can't make the mistakes. We saw the fumbled punt. I have no idea why Torrey was back there to return the punt. That can't happen. You can't do dumb. Like, he shouldn't be back there. He shouldn't be put in that situation, but he is. You can't fumble the punt.
Yeah.
And the kickers missing extra points. Like, at some point,
don't
you got to make your right.
How about that?
Don't screw it up on special teams.
Yeah.
An efficient offense that just, I hate to say dink and dunk or take what they give you, but I think you might have to do that at least early.
How about methodical?
Yeah, methodical.
Right? Like, I think that's what I'm looking for. Is like, just, man, get that 5 to 10 yards at a time. Take what they give you. Take the checkdowns. Don't forget the run game. You got to be methodical.
Right, because Minnesota, I think, because they blitz so much, you have the opportunities to beat the blitz, and they did that tremendously because how well Jordan Love played. And shout out, their offensive line was excellent in Minnesota. We haven't even really touched on the offensive line, but they were excellent in Minnesota.
Yeah, they played great. Zach Tom, hats off, sir.
Absolutely.
Runner-up for offensive MVP.
Yeah, and I don't think, Chicago's not a high blitz team like the Vikings are, so I don't think they're going to give you those opportunities for the big play. So you're going to have to be methodical. And then when you do take your shots or do you have your opportunities, obviously you got to hit them too.
Yeah.
But just think first downs instead of big plays, instead of, we got to throw the ball 50 yards downfield. Like, just move the chains and get down there. And when you're in the red zone, make it pay off, because I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be, around 24-20, something like that. And it's going to be tough. I don't want to say it's going to be a struggle offensively, but they're going to make you earn it. Where Minnesota, you were burning them and you were picking them apart and you figured out their blitzes. Like, that was such a great game plan. But I think with LaFleur and Love, having seen them previously, like, they knew what to expect and they knew how to counter it and how to, what they needed to do to beat those blitzes. I think with the Bears, you're just going to have to be patient with everything and not try to force it. You don't need LaFleur getting desperate like we see sometimes as a play caller. I feel like he does get desperate and try to force things. Like, just stay patient. Emotional. Yes.
He's an emotional play caller.
Yeah, and he's emotional with his challenges too at times, I feel like.
Yeah.
So don't get emotional. Like, just to be calm, be efficient, and move the ball.
Yeah. No, I'm going to repeat myself, guys, for like how many weeks in a row now. What does it take to win? Man, you've got to fire off that pass rush. Like, use these weapons. Make Fields uncomfortable. I think that's what he has been. That's been his weakness, right? That's been really the defense of him as well. You can't really evaluate him as a quarterback because he's always running for his life. You need to keep him running for his life. Like, he needs to be running for his life in this game. He should not be comfortable ever. Like, I want him to be just worn out because he had to run 50 yards sideline to sideline every stinking play because the Packers were just getting after him, and they're just rotating those pass rushers because they're deep at pass rusher and they should be using them. So that is what I think it's going to take to win. You got to fire off the pass rushers. That helps the DBs. That gives them an advantage. And, whether Jair's back or not, or at full, or, 100% or not, or whatever Jair we get, you've seen the other guys behind him play at a winnable level, we'll call it. So just help them out, right? Just help them out. Keep that pass rush going. And for God's sakes, don't get destroyed in the run. Don't give up 200 yards. Like, for crying out loud. If you can hold them to 150 yards rushing and 200 yards passing, you should win this game. That's 350 yards of offense. That's not, like, great. That's not really even good. But you should win that game. And I think for the offensive side of the ball, the game plan needs to be what it was against the Chiefs. You need to minimize possessions, right? So when you've got the ball, keep it. Keep it as long as you can. Reduce the number of possessions in the game. And like we're saying, be methodical, right? Take what you can get. Have those 10 to 15 play drives that end in a touchdown. because they're the number one offense in goal-to-go situations in the league right now, the youngest offense in the league. Fun fact for us. But yeah, I think that's what it's going to take. I don't think you need to be going for home runs in this one. You really do need to come in all business as usual and play the way you've been playing on offense for the last several weeks. Just keep doing what you've been doing. Obviously, they've been going for more explosive plays, but in general, Jordan Love has been well protected and he has been running the offense like a pro. He's composed. He looks like he's got ice in his veins, and they're running the ball effectively. So I'm throwing all these things out here. What does it take to win? A perfect game?
No, they don't have
I
to
mean,
play
seriously, get the pass rush going on the defense and just be methodical on the offense and have these long controlling drives. And you should win that game. And it's not like, the Bears, they're playing well right now, but the Bears are not, the Ravens, right? Like, this is not the 49ers. This is not the toughest team that you're going to play. It might be the toughest team in the NFC North that they played in the last few months, because the Lions didn't look very tough when we played against them, and certainly the Vikings were not tough at all. But yeah, so I think just keeping it into perspective, right? Let's not be intimidated by anything. Let's not be over cocky about anything. Come in, take care of business, and they should be in the playoffs. I mean, it's a very winnable game, but there's so many liabilities and just potential ifs out there. Joe Barry is just such a wild card. And how they run the offense is still a bit of a wild card. Will they run the football? Will they, abandon the run if something goes wrong? All that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they can win this game. This is a very winnable game. The Bears, they're getting better, but they're not a playoff team yet. So the Packers have to find a way to win this game, in my opinion. But that said, man, let's move on to our NFC North predictions for the week here. We have got both NFC
Pretty
North
easy.
matchups.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. We got two games to pick here. Got the Vikings going to face the Lions. What a game!
Yeah.
Who are you picking in that one, Tim?
Well, I mean, the Vikings still, they need a bunch of stuff to happen to make the playoffs, but they're not officially eliminated. They have to win. Right. They should just be eliminated because they're the Vikings. Right. They need to win, and a bunch of teams need to lose. It's a very long shot. The Lions are in. They, obviously the division champions. They need a lot to happen just for them to move from the 3 seed to the 2 seed. So they're not quite locked into the 3 seed, though it's very likely they end up the 3 seed. So I think a lot of this game is going to depend on, do they play the starters and how long do they keep them in for? So we don't know that answer. We're not going to know it until they actually start playing the games on Sunday. I think the Lions are the better team. I think that's quite clear. I don't, whoever the Minnesota starts at quarterback, if they go back to Mullins, if they go back to Dobbs, if they go back to whoever they play, they all stink at quarterback.
Yeah, not very good.
Right. So it's a hard game to pick because the Lions don't have a whole lot to play for. I think if they did, it's an easy pick for the Lions. I'm still going to pick them just because I don't want to pick the Vikings, and because I think all three of the Viking quarterbacks stink and they're going to make mistakes and turn the ball over, and that'll be enough. And Lions are kind of like the way Dan Campbell coaches them and how aggressive he coaches and how aggressive they play. He might leave his starters in the entire game and have them real fired up to go. Yeah, as I'm talking through this, I'm like, I don't know. I don't see him as like, yeah, we're gonna rest everybody. I don't care what happens in the game. Like, that's kind of not his mentality. Like, maybe he starts them all and then he starts pulling some out in the second half.
Yeah.
But even still, I think he has them ready to go and wanting to beat the Vikings. And any win's an important win for Detroit, just because over the years they've had so few of them.
So bad, yeah.
And they probably want to have, they're coming off the Dallas loss. They probably want to have a little bit of momentum going into the playoffs the next week. So I'll take the Lions to win. Yeah,
I just don't pick the Vikings,
Yeah,
so
simple as that.
Simple for me. The Vikings still suck too. I'm not going to pick the Vikings here because all the reasons you stated, their quarterbacks stink. And yeah, I just don't think a Dan Campbell team has it in them to roll over. especially the way they lost that Cowboys game. Very embarrassing, in my opinion. Um, you can blame refs if you want to, but man, not getting the guy reported right. That's on you as coach. So,
And
uh, I think he's going to be fired up to get that corrected and to
yeah,
not let that be their lasting taste in their mouth going into the
all
playoffs.
right,
So yeah, and it's at Detroit, so
yeah.
they're at home. Yeah, definitely taking Detroit to win this one, and get a little bit of momentum going into the playoffs. But to hell with that game. What's the game we care about here, man? We
Mhm.
got the Bears coming to Lambeau to finish the season. First of all, do we know if there's potential snow for this game? I haven't looked
I
yet.
haven't looked at the forecast yet. Yeah, it's a little early in the week to
I
look
would
at that.
love
I
to
don't know.
know if snow is in the picture. That would be
They
awesome.
haven't really had any cold weather games this year. I mean,
Not
the
really.
Lions
There's been
game
a little bit,
wasn't,
but
or not the Lions game, the Bucks game. A couple weeks ago, the weather was fine. So yeah, they
yeah.
haven't had a cold one yet.
Well, hopefully, I'd love to see a snow game. That would make it even better.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
But yeah, man. All right, so we got for all the marbles on the table against the Bears. Don't tell me you're actually picking the Bears, or are you going to do a sacrificial pick here?
No, I picked the Packers.
Ah,
I picked the Packers last week against the Vikings, and they
there
won.
we go.
So I don't have to do that anymore.
There
And
we
I think
go.
I picked them against the Panthers too. So I'm like 2-0 now the last
Okay.
2 weeks. All right,
Okay.
so we're done with that. Now I'm not picking the Bears. I can't pick the Bears in this. I am worried that there's a lot of similarities to how this is playing out to last year, how it played out with the Lions. And the Bears they're playing good football, especially defensively down the stretch here. So like this isn't going to be an easy one. But I
Nope.
didn't think the Minnesota game was going to be easy either, and they blew them out. So who knows? But it's going to be close. It's going to be, I think, down to late in the fourth quarter to see who's going to win it. But I'm going to pick the Packers. I think
Let's
they can
go.
do. I think they can do enough offensively, and I believe in the quarterback. I believe in Jordan Love, and I think he'll carry this team enough. Despite how the defense may play, I think he'll carry him and rise him up above the Bears, and they're going to pull it out and make the playoffs, which is crazy to say and crazy to think. But I
Whew.
think they beat the Bears, and next week we're talking about whoever they're going to play in the first round.
Man.
Could be Mike McCarthy.
Oh, dude, if that's what happens, let's get ahead of ourselves a little bit. I may have to live
Could be
stream
Mike
from the
McCarthy.
parking lot in that game. I'll go out there and tailgate.
Might
I'm
see
with
Big
you.
Mike.
I'm with you though. I can't obviously pick the Bears. I don't know any Packers fan right now that's picking the Bears. It's just you just can't do it. The Bears are playing well. Give them credit where credit is due. But this Packers team, and what I will say is, you're right. There's a lot of similarities to the situation last year with the last game of the season. The difference in this Packers team is this Packers team does not quit on Matt LaFleur. They don't. They haven't. You haven't seen it yet. And there was some quit in that team last year, and I'll just leave it at that. But I really think that is the difference here. I think appreciate you, Paul. Can assure you that I don't. But man, what a comment. No, but yeah, I don't think that the Packers are losing this one. They don't quit on the floor. I think that Jordan Love is going to go out there with ice in his veins and deliver this thing. They're going to be methodical. I think this goes a lot like the game against the Chiefs did. You minimize possessions and keep control of the game. The defense does just enough to not lose the game, and you win. 24-17. I don't even make score predictions, but to hell with it. We're doing it now.
That's fine.
So,
I'll take it.
all right, man. So, the way we're predicting it this time next week, we'll be talking about potential playoff matchups. Hopefully, it is McCarthy and the Cowboys. I think that would be cool. You might draw the Lions. I think there was a potential
There's a
scenario I
chance for the
saw.
Lions.
You
There's a
draw the
chance for the
Lions.
Cowboys or the
Yeah.
Eagles.
Okay.
So
All right. It's a lot of potential there. So it's going to be a
just beat the
wacky week.
Bears.
Just beat the Bears, man.
Just
That's
beat
all
the
you got to
Bears.
do. Just take care of business in the rivalry, and all else will take care of itself. So,
Yep. Beat the Bears.
hey, but quick shout out to Lord Lambeau, man, for the prediction about Jordan Love here, MVP under 5 years. Love it. Appreciate
Hey,
you.
could definitely see it.
Excellent comment there. and excellent prediction. And I do hope that comes to fruition. But I think that's about it, man. Do you have any final thoughts for this Bears matchup here?
So he said Love MVP under 5 years. He didn't say regular season or Super Bowl MVP.
Ooh, oh, there's a wrinkle. Shit. Well, it could
Just
be a
saying.
Super Bowl MVP
Super Bowl
for sure. That could just
MVP.
happen. Either
Beat the
way,
Bears.
I will be happy. But yes, let's beat the Bears. Let's hope that Jordan Love is the MVP of the game against the Bears. I think we can all get on board with that. But yeah, so come back and check us out next week, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us this evening on this Victory Monday after beating the Vikings. We had a great time with y'all. Good comments there. And as always, definitely check us out on Twitter. We are at Pack Weekly Pod. It's down there rolling on the screen. Check us out. Give us a follow. We'll follow back. We just love having some good, healthy Packers banter. And, it's fun right now, right? We got a lot of stuff to be excited about. And it's a lot more fun when you can share that with other Packers fans. So that's what we're trying to do. And we hope y'all jump in and do that with us. And come on back here this time next week. We'll be getting into it again. Monday evening, right, Tim? I think. Yeah, I think Monday evening we'll go at it again. We got the Packers on Sunday night or on Sunday. So yeah, looking forward to seeing you guys all next week and seeing you in the Twitterverse and having all the Packers banter. But thank you again for joining us this evening, and we always sign off with a go Pack go.